welcome back to our series Words That Changed My Life. This is the second message on the Gospel of John chapter 5. In the previous video, I think you remember, you heard the reasons why I am calling this message Get Up, Pick Up Your Life and Walk. The first message was actually an introduction to the story when Jesus, by the pool of Bethesda, encountered the man who had been waiting for a healing for 38 years. And I chose the title Get Up, Pick Up Your Life and Walk because the Holy Spirit used this story to help me find the right path in life. Only then I feel strong enough to reach my life goals even in the face of so many challenges. After reading this passage many times and thinking about it, I simply picked up my life and started to walk. And I pray to God that the same thing can happen to you. So if you like this message, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications for upcoming videos. Also, please don't forget to pray for me so that God may bless me with wisdom and strength so I may continue to work hard to prepare these messages. I really appreciate your prayers. You may remember that at the end of the first message, I mentioned that there are three main consequences when God's healing is poured out on your life. And the first one is this: God's healing brings forth commitment. Let me remind you of verses 6 and 7. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Jesus' question scared that poor man. He didn't know how to answer such a straightforward and unexpected question. Even today, I feel so uncomfortable every time God approaches me directly to show me things I need to change or improve. I can almost feel what that man felt 2,000 years ago. The man was so focused on trying to find an appropriate answer to Jesus' unsettling question that he began to list countless excuses. I confess, I am not that different. When you look at his answer, you get the impression that at that moment he'd completely forgot about his problem and his desire for healing. What he wanted now was to defend his situation. He wanted to explain why he had not yet been healed. "Sir, no one helps me. No one cooperates with me. No one feels sorry for my situation. I am in disgrace because of others. If they had helped me, I would have solved my problem a long time ago. I wouldn't even be here. You see, sir, this is not my fault. It is their fault." But nowhere does Jesus ask whose fault it was. Jesus was not looking for the people who could have helped him but refused. Jesus didn't even ask if he had family or friends who could be of some help to him. The only thing Jesus asked him was, "Hey, listen, do you want to get well?" Why did he not answer Jesus' question directly? Why did he come up with a list of excuses? He only had to answer yes or no, that's simple. What is really happening here? Is there something else, maybe between the lines, that we haven't been able to see? Let me tell you about an essential aspect of this conversation. The man had been laying by that pool almost his entire life. He had been developed skills that made it possible for him to hide some unpleasant aspects of his reality while bringing up reasons for demanding help from others. And please don't be fooled by a superficial reading of this text. Don't assume that he didn't understand what Jesus had asked him. Of course he followed Jesus' words. He did it very well, actually. He understood Jesus' words much clearer than we today can follow than only reading the text. The man knew that Jesus perfectly understood the entire structure which he had constructed to survive his environment. Jesus promptly perceived how much the man was taking advantage of his illness in an attempt to survive his suffering. And many of us have done the same. When we see no hope for the future, we take the very adversity we face and try to transform it into a helpful tool which minimizes pain and our lack of more positive future perspective. Have you ever felt like this? You have faced so many problems in life that one day you decide not to fight anymore. You are simply going to try to make the best of it. You will take your suffering as the motivation for your life, even though you no longer believe that better days will come. Does this resonate with you? So write a comment below. We can spend some time talking about it. The man knew very well that Jesus' question was indeed deep stuff. It directly addresses our weaknesses, our failures, and the entire hidden structure that we have built over the years to survive our suffering. Read the story again carefully and you will understand that Jesus' question reached that man's ears and heart as if Jesus had asked him, "Do you really want to be healed?" I think you get it. The man had built an entire life centered on his illness. This arrangement was very complex. It had been constructed over 38 years. Perhaps he didn't get the amount of alms by the pool that he required, but he learned to survive a life of misery through some compassionate change thrown in his lap. Therefore, God's healing would mean the end of a small yet profitable addiction. It will be the end of a life built on minimal comfort, but with some advantages. He was content to live with a few bucks as long as he didn't need to change the situation that has been established over the years. But undoubtedly, in his mind, the worst thing that could happen in case Jesus cured him would be a new life of commitment. Once healed and able to do things again, he would certainly have to go back to work. When healing came, he would have to fight for a place under the sun in a competitive society. And if competition was really necessary, he would prefer to stay there lying by the pool, where he knew the place very well, where he felt comfortable, even if it seemed to be a deplorable situation. In other words, returning to a healthy life after having spent 38 years struggling to survive in dirt, abandonment, scorn, poverty, and illness will be an unwanted situation. The cure for that man, contrary to what we might think today, would not necessarily come as a gift, but rather as a responsibility. That is precisely why he didn't answer Jesus' question directly. He knew the impact that God's healing would have on his entire life. And for this reason, the man would not see God's healing necessarily as a blessing, but rather as a curse. He didn't doubt that Jesus could heal him. No, he had likely heard about Jesus' miracles. The problem was quite the opposite. What would happen to him if he was healed? Was he willing to enter into a new life post-healing? Interesting, isn't it? Having been cured after 38 years of living with a disability is not always easy. And even more interesting is that in most cases we are not exempt from thinking as that man did. What happened to that man might quickly happen to any one of us today. The thing is, if we want to be touched and healed by God, we need to get rid of many conveniences caused by our physical, emotional, and spiritual illnesses. Every healing given by God is a blessing, but it requires we give up some privileges created by the illness itself. And I can give you some clear examples which I have seen throughout my life when I have tried to help people. For instance, if I am unemployed and receive from God a blessing to heal my illness, which in this case is a job opportunity, I'll no longer need the financial aid that has been provided to me by others. Also, I have to readjust my days to a much more restricted schedule, losing all those mornings and afternoons where I can do whatever I want, watching my favorite series or just sitting on the bench in the park watching life pass before my eyes. If I am an unfaithful husband, for example, and I receive the cure for my illness from God, which in this case is to live a life of fidelity with my wife, I'll have to abandon relationship with other women. Also, I'll have to tell the truth and admit my mistake in front of my family and friends. I will have to understand once and for all that it will not be hours and hours of sex without commitment that will transform me into a real man, but rather the courage to make my home a closed garden where God's blessing come to my wife and my children. If I am a dishonest businessman, for instance, and receive a cure for my illness, which in this case would be beginning to walk honestly according to God's way of life, I'll have to first of all recognize that I am a thief. I'll have to settle accounts with people, with government, and with God. I'll have to acknowledge my fallacies and corruption. I'll have to accept the idea of earning fewer profits in order to be honest, or even face the reality of abandoning my illicit business to become a wage earner, but one with a proper stance before God, people, and my family. Have you ever felt like that? You want to be healed. You want to change. You want a chance to start over, but you are afraid to commit yourself to your new life. You are not just scared of the unknown ahead of you. You are also fearful of the countless responsibilities that this new you will have to people and God. Now, does it resonate with you? Write a comment below. Tell me your story. We can spend some time talking about it. Do you want to get well? Jesus' question bothers all of us. So simple yet so pertinent and challenging. There could be no worse question for that man. Jesus' question is an eye-opener. Life with God is not the fulfillment of a set of rules. It is personal transformation. If we cannot see that, we will choose to leave everything as it is, live our lives in disease and dirt, and continue to blame others for our misery and bad luck. Yes, that man had hopes. He still had dreams. It certainly crossed his mind that he could be healed and have a different life. But there are many different types of hope. The man's hope didn't please God because it didn't include responsibility. His was hope without commitment. And hope without commitment is hope without life. It only serves to create and sustain depression, discouragement, and social, emotional, and spiritual segregation. It is a hope that does away with any possibility of vigor and action. Hope without commitment is not enough to fight for life. You and I need to understand that it is entirely possible to be healed by God. Not just physical illnesses, but also emotional and spiritual illnesses. But getting healed by God means much more than just getting rid of a disease. It means taking life seriously as the greatest gift from God. God rewards people who are committed because they always seek intimacy with Him. This truly pleases God. And why don't we stop here today? Perhaps the best thing to do now is to keep in mind that healing brings forth commitment. Do you want to get well? This question changed my life, and that is why I chose to share this story with you. There are still 2 more videos to come in this passage. In these next videos, you will see that besides commitment, there are still 2 other consequences of God's healing being poured out on our life. So please stay tuned for the upcoming messages. And this is just one of many messages I have been working on to show you how God has been using the words of the Bible to change my life. If you liked this message, subscribe to our channel. You will receive notification for upcoming videos and won't miss any of this particular topic. You can also take forward this message to other people, perhaps enjoying the video together and discussing it with your friends. Looking forward to seeing you again to further explore the words that changed my life. All the best to you and your family. God bless you very much. Bye now.